But, we're back in another episode of the All About Ability podcast. I've started doing the intro in the actual podcast itself because in the intro that we made, I look a lot fatter than I do now. So I thought,
I think it's easier. I know. I imagine now you're a shaved your beard, and but who's this guy? So I think doing it live is a good thing.
Exactly. Somebody said to me, like, you look so much slimmer than you do in your actual intro that I made like 2 months ago. So I was like, I'm going to just start doing it now. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about, James. I just tend to ramble on. It's very rare in my podcast. I've done 70 odd episodes now by this point, and it's very rare that we have, I guess it's been on twice.
I've already tapped you up to come on a third time as well, so that's brilliant. I'm going to ruin this podcast.
Exactly. I mean, you would definitely be a first, third time guest, to be fair. Dan Connor might be chasing you on that. I don't know. We'll see.
Don't start name dropping.
But James Gardner, look, I actually, you do have a lot of conversations with people, right? But the conversation we had around about this time last year is something I've really not forgotten about. Because it was really one of the big reasons why I started the podcast was to showcase disability and raise awareness and things like that. And the way you talked about your relationship with your brother and things, it was just it really connected with me. And I think at that point in my sort of journey, I was going through a bit of a bad time and didn't necessarily do your podcast justice in terms of promoting it and getting it out there and things like that. But it's definitely something that really stuck with me, and I was just wanted to say that to you first of all, and say how are you doing? How's Alexander doing?
He's great. So just for anyone that doesn't know, obviously my older brother Alexander, he was born in 76, so he's going to be 47. So he's like 8 years older than me. My older brother Alexander has got quadriplegic cerebral palsy. So he can't walk, he can't talk, and he communicates with his eyes up for yes, down for no. So the conversation we had, I mean, it was really interesting because when I came on here, and I think it was maybe even about a year and a half ago, Kieran, I think it was mid sort of lockdown, if I recall. I don't think it wasn't before the first lockdown, and it wasn't after the end of everything. I think it was before the studio got a glow up. It was before he did a glow up on the studio. So it was actually, I don't want to be too dramatic, although if my girlfriend's watching, she'll say it's very hard for me to not be too dramatic because I'm a highly dramatic person, man. I am all about the drama. It was kind of life-changing for me, the podcast that we did, so don't put it down, because for me, it was a kind of seismic moment because I've lived a life being a brother and friend and carer to Alexander, but I'd never really thought about, I suppose, my position in terms of social responsibility and actually maybe using that experience and trying to advocate more for help and understanding and awareness for people with disabilities. And I'd never really thought about it in terms of anything other than me, myself, my family, my brother. I've never thought about it from anyone else. So it was brilliant. So we just paused for the post. So I got confused there. I was like, what's happening? So did I. As long as it wasn't a tax bill he was handing or a court summons, we're all right. So no, I thought it was a brilliant podcast, and it was really thought provoking, and I'm sure I nearly cried at one point. And yeah, it was really good. So Alexander's excellent. He's good. He's in good health. And I've probably since then, as inspired by what we spoke about, and you're to blame now because I've got this huge sense of grievance, which we can come to. I'll give you a chance to talk in a minute. I've got a huge grievance now with the world and the world of inclusion because I feel like I'm being missed out. But no, Alexander's good, and since then I have actually done like quite a few TikToks with my brother. I mean, I've even had a TikTok account before I was here. I've done quite a few videos about my brother, really just to try and highlight how brilliant a personality is, because I don't know if you feel it sometimes in the wheelchair, but sometimes people just see past Alexander because they don't know what's there. You know, he's profoundly disabled in terms of appearance. It's overwhelming for people. According to my girlfriend, and she was very honest enough to say that. So for me, it was to kind of highlight how brilliant he is, how funny he is, all these sorts of things. So no, it was a great podcast, and I'm delighted to be back.
Well, I don't really know where to start from there. It's first of all, very kind words, and I really appreciate you saying that. I think that the whole point of the podcast really is to raise awareness in that way, and you having that experience with your brother and going through that life. You know, you said that before that kind of thing, you're very focused on your own situation, but I think that everyone is. You know, there's so many times I've met people where they've been like, you know, before I met you, I never even thought about this.
Mm-hmm.
Even meeting Paul to the extent, Paul, we did this. We've done a couple of things where we'd film vlogs, and he was like, didn't realize how difficult it was to get about and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, that is the actual conversation of equality and all these things. It seems to forget about the fact that disability is not really seen as much, especially in Alexander's case, because like you say, when it comes to different extreme levels of disability, I think the more disabled someone is, it's like the more uncomfortable people are with it.
I think so, definitely, and I think, like you say as well, the word "dis," you know, the prefix of "dis," I'm quite interested in English and the semantics and the creation of words, because you can figure out the meaning of a word just by knowing what the suffix or the prefix is or whatever. So "dis," there's always a negative connotation because it's disinterested, disavowed, disemboweled, disdain. So it's not a good thing. So to diss someone is a neg. So you've got disability, and like you say, the podcast's not called all about disability, it's called all about ability. So as you say, when you look at the conventional measure of disability, right, which my brother would score extremely high, but actually his ability is fucking off the charts in other areas. Like his ability to communicate despite the huge disadvantages that he has is off the charts. But like you say, all people see is the disability. And something that I've kind of come more and more aware of is nobody gives a fuck about disability. You know, I'm going to generalize here, but by and large, nobody gives a fuck. Because unless it affects them, they don't care. And I don't think there's a lot of sympathy for disability out there as well. I think that there's a sympathy there if somebody gets cancer or fucking has a heart attack or whatever. I think there's a sympathy there. Oh God, that's sad. With disability, I think it's inconvenient for a lot of people, and they just go, I don't want to look at this. It doesn't affect me. And I think the pandemic was a big thing with that. Just shield them all, leave them at home. So what? It's not a big deal. People, and I don't want people to have to experience a personal matter like disability to care about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like, because I'm not saying I'm any better than anyone, right? I'm only passionate or interested because, of course, I've grown up with it with my brother. So, you know, when I went to the Tesco yesterday, I'm looking at a van parked in a disabled bay, a couple of workies in for their roles, and I'm wanting to go up to them going, what are you fucking doing? Like, where's that going to get me in life, right? But, and I know what they'll be thinking. Fucking nobody a wheelchair here, pal. They don't care. But maybe I wouldn't care. Maybe because society don't teach me to care. Don't teach me to give two hoots about people with disabilities. They do not teach you to care about that. I only care about that because I've seen it with my brother's friends. So I'm more aware. I'm not any better than anyone else. I just think my circumstances have made that, and I just kind of think that's something, since I spoke to you, has really put a fire under me, and I am nursing a huge grievance with a whole raft of people, because, you know, there's a drive for inclusion now, which is great, you know, and particularly in the media, but only if it fits into this wee bit here. So, yeah, we'll have a disabled contestant on Love Island. If it's a club foot, cool. Now, I'm not being dismissive. This is my own experience. You know what? When I grew up, I just kind of thought you were disabled if you were in a wheelchair. You know, I looked at how disabled my brother was. You know, can't walk, can't talk, can't sit himself up. So that's disabled. Then somebody else, rightly so, would say, I'm disabled. I've got a false kneecap, an artificial kneecap. I'm thinking, you're not disabled. Now, that's not. I'm not right for saying that. I'm actually not a good person for that. That's just how my life framed it. So when you look at things like Love Island, you had I remember last year saying, first disabled contestant on Love Island, clubfoot. All right. I'm sure that brings challenge. I'm not a disabled person. I'm a straight white man. So I've got more privilege than anyone. So I don't know what that means. Really nice to see. I don't watch stuff. I was watching it all on TikTok pretty much. The girl, Tash, and she's got the cochlear implant. That's great. But like you say, that's it. So, you know, you have the guy that can wheel himself about, get him on it. You know, what about all these other voices and people? Because they are people. What about all these other people that are out there that are living life and thinking thoughts that are not being represented because it's not convenient?
James, I absolutely love it. Like, you have no idea how much all of what you just said that connects with everyone that has a disability. And I think there's a few kind of major points there that we should touch on. One is that what you're experiencing right now is the fight that it takes to go against all these things that we're talking about. Like, every disabled person and everyone that is close to someone with a disability experiences the fact of what you're up against is this mountain of what has already been there for most of our lives and the generations before us, of how disability has been looked at as this sort of vulnerable group that's seen as an inconvenience and seen as people that, you know, we just kind of want to get rid of them. But going to something you said there, I think as well, was we're talking about how, you know, people don't care, right? And I think all of what we think about different things are based off of what we experience. And if you don't experience disability, you don't see it, which comes to the point of what you say about the media and how it's covered, because a lot of people don't see these things. A lot of what we see is through television and media and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all that. And if you don't see people with disabilities, you can't relate. You can't even fathom it. But when you look at things like racism and sexism, I'm not black, but I still believe strongly in fighting against racism. I'm a white guy, and I believe that nobody should ever be racist towards a black person. I'm not a woman, but I don't believe anyone should ever be sexist towards women. It's the same for disability. The more we talk about this, the more that we raise awareness, the more that we work together, the more that people will be like, well, we should be fighting for this group as well, whether you're disabled or not.
I think that's it, because I mean, it's hard to, because what happens is, like you say, you fight. You've got to, I mean, you don't realise until the older you become, you realise more and more how your trauma has affected you. And everyone, no matter how well adjusted or loving or stable or materially wealthy or emotionally wealthy background you've had, everyone has trauma. You cannot avoid having childhood trauma. You can't avoid it, right? And then that affects how you behave later on in life. And you know, I used to fight a lot. I wasn't a very good fighter, so you know, I got battered a lot. But I would fight a lot when I was, you know, a teenager, when I was in my early 20s, because I was angry and I didn't know that I was acting out, and I didn't know why I would need to act out. So when you look back now and you go, right, my life with my brother, my mum and dad and my sister, all very loving. Life was about Alexander, and should be, because he needs more help. And as a result, you adjust your own needs and your own personality. And my first thought is about my brother. You know, I've shared the room with him. I have to push the bed up. I used to have to push the bed up against his because his leg would stick out, and you know, he's got spasmodic motions, which means when he takes spasm, his leg starts twitching, and before you know it, he could fall out the bed. He has, so we would push the bed up. I'd get into bed, push my bed up against his. You know, when I wake up in the middle of the night, it's freezing cold, I have to think, is my brother cold? So my thoughts are always about someone else. So that also impacts how your relationship works, because I'll go like that to my girlfriend. Why did you not get me one? You know, to the shop. She, well, you didn't ask for anything. I'm like, oh, fucking mortally wounded, right? Because she's got herself a Coke Zero, not me. I'm like, how dare you do that, right? But she's not done anything wrong. This is because I've always had to, because Alexander can't say, woo, me, can I get one? So you're always saying, oh, do you need anything? So I've been brought up to always think about other people, right? And that also turns me into a martyr. Do you know what I mean? My girlfriend says to me, stop being a martyr, you know, because I'm like, no, it's fine, don't worry about me. You know, because that's what you've got to do. And then everything, as you say, is a fight. you know, and even like we're just there talking about the parking space thing. That's another fight. You know, you spend your life fighting. You spend your life, and then people end up getting fed up. They go, "Oh, I know, but just let it go." And you do have to let so much go to get on with your life. You know, I've taken Alexander out into pubs, clubs. I've taken him to King Tut's. You know, fucking King Tut's. That's a tenement flat, basically. King Tut's Wawa Hut. Turned up. I mean, I was 18, and this was my mum had been doing this for decades before, and my dad. And then, you know, I would take him out and we're going to a gig and I'm turning up and I'm going back to the bouncer. Right, big man, go and do us a favour. Could you just stand at the bottom of his wheelchair? Don't need you to lift it because people think, oh, we'll carry the wheelchair up. And you're like, good luck with that, mate, because you don't realise how heavy the wheelchair is. And you need to pull his wheelchair up the 14 steps or whatever it is at King Tut's. Then you've got him in at the gig. That's the next thing. Fucking everybody's standing there. My brother's here in the wheelchair. This is before the smoking ban. So it's just me and my brother. My brother's arms flail about because he's got cerebral palsy, right? And you know, make it a wee sudden jerk. And he's worried that somebody's cigarette's going to stub out in his arm because that's also happened to him. So I'm at the gig and I'm going, right, mate, excuse me, pal, could you do a wee favour? Could you just stand there? And I'm creating a human barrier and I'm moving people about and I'm 18. And, you know, everything is a fight. You're looking for a fight for equality. Or my brother's trying to book tickets or something just now at the Hydro. The carers are trying to book the tickets, but they can't get the carer. No, you need to turn up at the box office. All right, okay, cool. You know, just another thing that people have got to do, and it's not fair. And then you're kind of left going, and if you fought everything every day, you'd end up busting your heart and burst into flames. So what's sad is you've got to leave a lot of stuff, haven't you? You've got to just go, I know it's not fair. Let's just get on with it. Let's not, because you'll noise yourself up over it. You know what I mean? So you're right. It is the fight all the time. And when it comes to inclusion, I'm trying to talk about my brother with my comedy and whatnot, but I've also sent stuff off to people, the BBC, this, that, how can you keep, I like to make content, ignored, you know. And like you say, I feel like sometimes you feel like you're almost fighting against one another. So like I'm saying, it's like I mentioned before, it shouldn't be which disability trumps the other one. It shouldn't be like that, but it has a tendency to be that way because there's only so much sort of inclusion to go about. So it's kind of, he's more disabled than him. So I'm not looking to take, when I'm talking about inclusion, I don't want to take the place of it. I say I'm a straight white male. I'm not wanting to take the place of anyone else that's been oppressed and held back. But I think something that you said to me, and you're the source of the grievance now, is I should be ahead of any other, or most other straight white males, because I want to tell my brother's story. And there are recognised, you know, there's CODA, children of deaf adults, which is brilliant. That's a really good thing. There's less out there for children or parents of disabled children or siblings, or because I've experienced a lot of the exclusion and a lot of society's barriers to disability firsthand through my brother. Sometimes that's fortunate because Alexander is so he's so vulnerable, his needs are so complex that he could never be left alone. So the good news is he'll never be left on a plane for 10 hours. Well, he might be, but we would be with him, you know. But he'll never be left on his own. Whereas I've got a collection of stories. You know, I went to do something with them. I don't know what I'm going to do, but the stories that you see where people are turning up to, like yourself, that are going to gigs and they've just been told, "Now we've already got a wheelchair user in there, you can't come in." I think it happened to a 16 or 17-year-old girl. They travelled to Newcastle with her two pals to see a band, and some guy in the door just went, "Oh no, it's health and safety," and that was it. The band came out and all that, and they still the whole thing. They went down to Newcastle, booked a hotel room. They never got into the gig. So I actually think it's harder now than it was 20 years ago, because 20 years ago you could have just said to somebody, "Big man, fucking just let us in here," and they'd be like, "Right, cool, we'll sort it." Whereas now people aren't, you know, trained to be autonomous. They're not empowered or paid enough to think for themselves. So it's just like, "Oh, I can't," and they're just turning folk away.
Now that's a really interesting point to make, because I think that, first of all, you're totally right, but I've never really heard anyone say that before.
Sorry about giving you these 25-minute answers, by the way.
No, it's like, it's great. I mean, this is you're a dream guest in that sense. But I just have so many things that I want to reflect on here, because I think it's, first of all, what you were saying about how, you know, speaking for your brother and being that advocate, the best thing about having that experience is that nobody, when you're talking about these things, experience is the most valuable thing, because no one can understand the extent of what Alexander needs to go through on a day-to-day basis more than somebody that's been there every single step of the way. And that is something that needs to be shared, it needs to be heard. And we can't fight for everything all the time, but what we can do is we can get more voices in. And that is what these kind of conversations are for, is that, yeah, maybe the two of us can't take every single problem and solve it, but we can get more people on board for them to take some of the problems and them to fix some of it. And
I think so. I think, well, I've got a question for you, right? Because it's something that again, I'm waiting to do a wee video about it on a TikTok, right? Because I mean, I loved it. What's great is, so I'm sure you'll get to that point, but I mean, I've been doing the TikTok and I've been doing all right with it, and I've put a few videos out with myself and Alexander, and some of them have had 300,000 and 400,000 views, which has been great, and which has been fantastic, and you're raising awareness. But what do you think of the word spaz? What do you think about the kind of, because there's the Lizzo thing that happened, and then I think Beyonce had it in a lyric and has changed it now, and I know Lizzo changed her lyric. What's your thoughts on that? Because then I've got my thoughts off the back.
It's an interesting question. I think it kind of comes back to what you were saying before, like, just before I forget this, like when you were talking about how it's harder now than it was maybe 10, 20 years ago, because now everyone's very aware of, or it's a health and safety thing. It's as if they have a more political correct reason to not let you into the club or not let you into the bar. And it's like, whereas before they would have been like, let me just take this person up here.
Yeah.
Which I think is...
Have you found that personally?
Well, yes, to an extent, because, for example, there's a guy that I know that's using the wheelchair, but he can walk a bit, and he gets up the stairs at Catty.
Okay.
And I can't do that. But now Catty think that they've got wheelchair access, because there's
who's Catty? What's that?
It's a big nightclub. It's a cat house.
A cat house, sorry. Because you were calling it the Catty, I was like, you can tell I'm obviously a non-cat house user. I mean, I was the shack, you know what I mean? Never the cat house, you know what I mean?
Listen, I've never been in the cat house, but he can get in there because he can walk up the stairs a bit. But because he can do that, they think that they've got wheelchair access.
Yeah.
And to come to the point of accessibility, I always, for people that maybe listen to this and are thinking, well, what is the big deal? What is it?
There's only a couple of, well, the other classic thing is I bet how many disabled people are there? I mean, I've been used as and complicitly in conversations with pals of like, we bought this house and they've got this, it's got on the ground floor because they need to make it, because what if a disabled person lives? I mean, it's ridiculous because I mean, and I'm going, no, you're right, it is ridiculous, and then because people want you to agree with them, they kind of use you as this sort of complicity. His brother's disabled and he agrees with me, and then actually you think after, you go, well, why not just make it accessible for everyone, and then there's no problem? What is this divide? It's kind of like, why do we need to make it wheelchair for the two fucking people in a wheelchair that would come in? And it's like, I get that, but why not just make it accessible for everyone? And then
exactly. Well, the best example that I thought of a wee while back, which I think it kind of paints a picture, is like, and this might seem flippant, but it's not really when you think about it. You ever seen the movie Elf?
Do you know what? I've not really. I think I've seen it once.
Right,
but
the point of me mentioning this, it might seem random to know, is part of the story is that this guy who is Will Ferrell, he's fully.
I know the story. I mean, I've seen it. Like, I've seen a lot of clips.
He spends his life living in the North Pole, right? Now, the thing about that I always found very interesting about this is that he is, by definition in our society, a fully able-bodied human. But when he lived in the North Pole, he couldn't find find a place for himself. Everything was not. Basically, the North Pole wasn't accessible for him.
Yes, wasn't accessible
because everybody's smaller and he couldn't do certain things.
You're only as disabled as the society you're in. That's the. I don't know who said that, but that's what they say, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. So it's a case of it's not that he's disabled. It's that the world wasn't designed for him.
Yes, that's correct.
But we are living in an age now where everybody, the awareness is there, the knowledge is there. We're living like it's the age of social media. Like everybody can see this, and it's a neglect at this point not to deal with this stuff. To come back to your question about words and spaz specifically, I think that there's a certain section of people that have decided to be offended for us on things, and it's kind of like, well, I think that we kind of need to take back these words to an extent, you know.
Yeah.
I used to be really offended by it, being like somebody saying like, somebody calling me cripple or whatever the case, right? And it's like these words, you know, have been used to describe certain groups of people with disabilities as very vulnerable and can't take care of themselves and things like that. But I think that the more that we can show that we are, you know, we are, regardless of me being in a wheelchair or Alexander's situation, we are whole human beings that have our own lives, and whether you call me spaz or crippled or whatever, it doesn't. That 9 times out of 10 comes from that person's deep desire of wanting to feel better about themselves more than it is to do about you.
I think so. I think for me, there's the different use of it though. There's the kind of common usage, and it's really interesting because again, I'm not trying to preach because I've used the word. I have used it indiscriminately. I have used it as banter, you know, as you see it in American films, the in-betweeners, like Kevin Bridges, who I think's amazing. I'm not trying to get Kevin Bridges cancelled, right? You know, but he does it, but he goes, like that's mocking disabled people, and it's like I say, that lies dormant in me, and it's only in the last couple of years I'm going, maybe not right that actually. And you know, we watch Friends every day, as everyone does on the Netflix, and you're watching and you're going, things you're watching, you're going, oh, it's not a good word that, is it? Or, you know, watching an episode yesterday and throws a disabled woman's leg into the fire, and you think, that's kind of all right. I know it's a sitcom, but it's classic. Or a disabled person, bang, they're the punchline, right? You know,
That's a good point,
right? And with the word spaz or spastic, like I didn't even want to say my brother's condition is spasticated quadriplegic cerebral palsy, because you think I don't want to associate him with that word, because people have actually claimed that word and decided to use it negatively, so that it's now a casual term. Don't be such a spaz, don't be a retard, stop being a mongo, all these things, right? And like I say, shamefully, I have used all those words, not out of, there's no deep psychological, there's me trying to act out. It's just, like you say, you fight that many fights and then you're playing football with the boys or somebody else using, he's a fucking, and you say it, right? And that doesn't make it okay. So I'm not trying to come at it from a point of perfection. I'm saying, listen, I have used those words and, you know, they're no good. And I just think it shows you, because they're negative, because I've seen people, comedians trying to justify, it's a medical term, and right, okay, you don't call anyone, all right, you wee chemo bastard. Nobody goes, wee fucking cancer, who are you wee cancer? All right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that. Do you know what I mean? So what you're actually doing is you're kind of making that you're making the disability the punchline. And the thing is, this is where I come back to the sympathy thing. Nobody asked to be disabled. You know, and I know there's a whole range, and I'm generalising because I've not got perfection on this subject, but most of the disability that I'm aware of and I've experienced and friends with it has been an accident at birth, a genetic defect, just something that could happen to anyone. And whereas if somebody sadly, you know, befalls one of these dreadful things in life, whether it's cancer or heart disease or what, there's like a kind of almost like a sympathy there. And I see it, you see it in the crowdfunders for, you know, such a booth, you know, they raised more money for the sub club closing down in the space of 2 hours than there's a boy on social media, Cal Grievers, who wanted to move out and get his own home, and he crowdfunded and he got 30,000. It was amazing. But it took me about a year to crowdfund that, whereas, you know, I think they raised 40 grand for the sub club in about 2 hours, you know what I mean? And that's fine. I'm not the judge and jury to decide what's right and wrong in life. I'm just giving my opinion and where I see people's views on disability. And it comes back to when I think about the use of the word spaz, people have just taken that now, and it's, you know, because they're not. They don't use that in a racial slur now, do they? That used to be something people would say. Stop being Irish, for example. That's a racial slur. If someone was acting stupid, the connotation that Irish people are somewhat intellectually inferior, they would do it with people's skin tone or nationality. How come it's okay to do it? What with that? And like I say, you watch them. I watch them between us 2-3 times a week, right? At night, my time between us on, and it's have you caught Down syndrome? That's nice. And actually, I'm not. And this is where I think people get angry because they kind of lash out when you point that out. Fucking stop being woker. That's it. And it's just a conversation that needs to be had. It's not trying to cancel anyone. I would be heartbroken if they cancelled them between us or dubbed all that out. Same with the Kevin Bridges routine. I'm just saying, from what I've seen, and that's only my recent. The older I get, I think I actually, you know what? That's the wrong word. It's just being aware that that's the what it means, and actually, is it a big deal to change it? The same way that being growing up, you could use gay as an insult. She should never have done. Nobody should ever have done that. But again, that's something that through education, society, people are going, well, actually, what's wrong with that? But that'd be, I should stop being gay. Of course, again, somebody had to point that out to me. And again, I did that classic thing where I lashed out, I've got gay friends, and I've had, so what? Maybe just don't say it. Do you know what I mean? It's not,
yeah, exactly.
And actually I had to, well, actually, you know what? You're totally correct. That's actually unacceptable. It's unacceptable language, and I wasn't meaning it in a malicious way, and I wasn't meaning it. But actually, that's not helpful to anyone. So, I think we find it difficult to have conversations like that because people just, like you say, get so offended, and then you've just got this polarization where people are either, super like, you shouldn't ever say that, and other people are saying, well, I can say what I want, and as opposed to just having a conversation with people saying, actually, you know what, maybe you're right, actually.
It's such a great point. Like, you first of all, you blown me away with all this. I think it's all on the money.
It's your fault.
For me, these words, when they have this meaning, subconsciously allows in society this idea that we can talk about people with disabilities as if they are less than a normal human being, and that's what the biggest problem is. You're allowing that it's essentially hate speech.
Well, it is. I think you said it last time. What's happening is it's good because, again, just if you think about feminism, I'm reluctant to say I'm a feminist because my behaviour in my lifetime has not been in alignment with a feminist. I have been and contributed to misogyny by referring to women as birds, right? Sweetheart, darling. I have looked at women as they've walked past. Things like, that you actually go, it's not cool, right? But when you're growing up and, the programs that used to Only Fools and Horses, Dale Boy, that was my hero. Oh, darling, what? Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell, right? Where it was cool to be, a womanizer, and these things, how it was all framed. So again, that's just the way society was. It doesn't mean it was right, but obviously the kind of the awareness and the education now, when you actually come to realise, right, actually I never had to think about what a woman faces. I never had to think about that. A woman has to think about what she's wearing when she walks down the street. I don't need to worry about that. I need to worry about the builders looking at me. Do you know what I mean? I wish they would, but do you know what I mean? Whereas we walk past a group of builders every day, and my girlfriend's like, I'm glad when winter comes around because I'll wear my coat and all that now, because when we walk past it, they're like that. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, 100%.
And I feel that's good. So that that awareness is coming. It's like I say, I ain't saying I'm perfect. I am saying I have committed all these things, all these faux pas. And it's so I think what's happening now is we're getting into an era where, like you say, people are far more aware of sexism, misogyny, homophobia, racism, and we're kind of taking action towards them. But what I feel is that it's kind of like, yeah, that's fine, stop that. It's a spaz, though. It's not really about it. Who's going to be offended by that? Because as you said, disabled people, make up the biggest minority group in the world, but have the least representation and the lowest voice.
Exactly. And, you know, there's so much to touch on here, but for me, all these different groups that have had this voice to speak up for it and fight for themselves. One of the things about it as well is every disability is different to an extent.
Yeah.
So we almost have been marginalised against each other.
Definitely.
Rather than being told to, being educated to support each other in that sense. So that if everybody with a disability was able to, you know, because when you have a disability your whole life, what happens is you grow up essentially being told by the world that you can't do what a normal person can do. So you have a lot of things in your head to tackle, a lot of insecurities, a lot of demons there that you have to go through in your life to say, am I actually worthy of being happy and having a happy life and doing the things I want to do? And it's very, very difficult for somebody with a disability that has it from the start of their life to come through that and be able to fight that cause, which is why we haven't really had, because we've been so oppressed for so long and never really been given the tools to fight it together. That's why you're not hearing the voices enough, and like you say, but that's why people like yourself and these kind of conversations are so important, and saying that, you know, they've fought for all these different groups, but disability and the language like spas and things like that are still common practice for most people, especially in Scottish culture. When you're talking about all these words, I remember it was the regular part when I was at school, was a regular part of the party.
Absolutely. And the thing is, you may use the word yourself because you use it to fit in. You want to be one of the boys, and it's an insult, and and nobody means it in a malicious way or largely, but then you think, fucking hell. And it's like, I mean, I'll give you an example, right? So I do a lot of the TikTok, and, you know, if it's a lot about my brother on a few of the TikTok videos, I would say 95, 96% of the comments are so overwhelmingly positive and stuff like that. And that's the danger of social media. And it's easy to kind of stand back from afar and say, well, you know, you can't get too upset about it because it's not real. And, you know, you just kind of, you got to just let it go. And, you know, it's easier to preach than what you practice. But, you know, Alexander tongue sticks out, which is a condition and a symptom of cerebral palsy. And Alexander had his teeth taken out, but he wanted to have them taken out because he used to bite through his cheek and his lip. He would, from time to time, he would bite on his lip. And then cerebral palsy obviously is a condition where part of the brain has been damaged due to lack of oxygen at birth. So he isn't able to, I know you know all this, I'm just sort of explaining for anyone who's listening,
No,
cerebral palsy, he doesn't have the motor skills in his brain to send signals to his muscles or his arms or legs to say, don't worry, just release your jaw, just open your mouth.
Yeah.
So he would get into a real panic, a fright, and he would bite through his lip. And he bit straight through it a couple of times. That means he can't eat for days. His body has to work 10 times harder to overcome any infection. He can be really ill. So eventually it got to a point where he created such an anxiety, Alexander, over it, that got to the point you had to always even be in the same room as him. Whereas previously, you know, my mum could go and make a cup of tea in the kitchen and Alexander would be watching the TV or whatever. And even when we'd put him into bed at night, he could sleep on his own. And then I'd go out, I'd DJ, I'd come back in and I'd come into my bed and I'd come in and find him with his mouth covered in blood and he'd been sweating, nobody could hear him crying because he got himself into a panic, and, you know, he would bite through his lip and whatnot. So eventually, Alexander, he said to us, he would like his teeth taken out, right? And what's really funny is we were all like, no, absolutely not. Because we were worried about ourselves, our own vanity, about what people would think about Alexander. But fucking, don't want to see him in his teeth and all that, and don't want people judging him and looking at him. You know, we're worried about ourselves, right? And my sister, who's a dentist, was working in the hospital at the time, so he had his teeth removed. And Alexander still to this day says it's the best thing he's ever done, right? Because all of a sudden it's removed that anxiety. He can't harm himself that way. It just gives everyone a bit more freedom and flexibility. You know, his carer can be in another room, getting something for him, whatever, coming back in. As a result, Alexander's tongue hangs out a lot more because obviously your teeth naturally stop your tongue from coming out. So his tongue is constantly bobbing back and forward. And that's him. That's Alexander, right? And it's funny, again, when we get pictures taken, you see my mum or my dad fucking shoving his tongue back in his mouth, right? For a nice photograph. And this highlights two things. It highlights, you think, what people think. It highlights, one, the misogyny, because it was all male, right? But in any video I've ever put up, I've had at least 20 comments from people going like, oh, I bet you his girlfriend's a happy woman. Oh, I bet you he's, you know what I'm saying? You fucking stupid. I mean, like, and I don't take great offence to it. Like, I see some people, they highlight the comment, put it in their story, and they want to. I'm just like, you're just fucking stupid. But you just think that's what you've got to say about this, like a cheap joke. Oh, I bet he can fucking do stuff with his. What?
Yeah,
that's not sex. Like, this is what you take from it. So it, like you say, It's probably the lack of awareness or interaction, but that comes back down to society, because disabled people, and I don't even like the term disabled people, but people with disabilities rather, were shunted away as recently as the 50s and 60s and 70s, were hidden away in big fucking care homes, residential homes, locked up essentially, kept out the way. We don't want to see them. Society doesn't want to see them. And there's something uncomfortable in disability. It's something uncomfortable. You just think, fuck it, I'm going to look away. And also as well, I think there's a lot of, like I say, I've got a lot of anger, so I'm coming at it from that side. And there'll be a lot of people who aren't like that, and I've got to apologise. I know that there will be a lot of people out there who just don't know what to do. Yeah. And when they see someone who is disabled, they think, I don't want to stare. So what I will do is I will just look away, or I will look to their carer or their parent, and I will talk to them. And my girlfriend's been a real big help to me in a lot of this, because she'll be very honest and tell me her experience or how she feels about it. Because a lot of people don't. Everyone goes, oh no, I don't get. She was in a shoe shop in the town, and she went, really reminded me of your brother. There was somebody, I think he was in with his brother, he was caring for him. And the guy was, really, just it's obviously some form of cerebral palsy. He's moving about and he's making noises and the wrinkle here. And so to someone, you're thinking, fucking hell, what the fuck's going on there, right? And his brother's going, like, relax, you fucking just give me 10 minutes to stick a pair of shoes on. And he's, right? And the staff in the shop are really flustered, because people think, fuck, I don't know what to do here. I don't know how to talk, to look. I don't want to be rude. And that's the thing. You need to have a confidence, and if people are not integrated, and if people are not given that awareness or chance or representation or visual aid, what do you expect? Because that's what you do when you're confronted with something or someone you're unfamiliar with. You think, oh, right, I don't know. Let's just get on with this. And I think that's a big problem.
100%. There's a couple of points I really want to make here, right? One is that, going back to something you said earlier, where you were talking about how you're not perfect in this issue. You've used all these expressions before, but one thing a point I really want to make is that is okay, because the most important thing about being human is learning from these things and saying, look, what you're basically saying is, look, it doesn't really matter if you used it before. It's about learning now that we can improve this and say, like, we don't need to talk like this. We can talk about disability in a better way. We can be more supportive of each other, which is why someone like, this has really been on my mind a wee bit, so bear with me, but this Andrew Tate guy, man.
Oh, is this guy who looks like the poor man's pit bull? Aye. The ASOS pit bull, aye. Okay.
This guy.
I'd like to batter him, by the way. There you go. I'll give him a celebrity boxing match. When I say celebrity boxing, but he's a celebrity, I'm not. We'll just batter him.
He'll be in the wheelchair after the battle, but the thing is, right, is what I love about what you're saying is, like, look, we've all said these things, but now's the time to be open-minded and be supportive of other human beings, and saying, how can we actually make this better for people? And we don't need to talk about disability in such a derogatory way.
I've not heard what he said. I
Yeah.
just saw a dead short clip that he spoke about the parking thing, and he was like, yeah, I use a disabled because there's no disabled people. I'm being efficient. All right, cool, mate.
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. This guy is what you would call, he's looking for the. He knows the way that the society is going, and I think that a lot of his opinions are just purely of shock value. I don't believe for a second that that's what he's like in real life.
He's like, this Katie Hopkins part. And then what happens is, the only thing I would say though is talking about him gives him, puts gasoline on the fire.
That the reason why I mentioned him is the only reason why I brought him up is because I think it's important to stress that in these kind of conversations where he's talking about these things, he's promoting domestic violence against women. He's promoting marginalising disabled people. He's promoting racism. He's promoting all these things that are horrible that we're fighting against. And I think it's important that for the guys out there that are maybe listening to him and thinking, oh, he's right because I've been treated this way and I've been treated that way.
Yeah.
Like what we're doing as a society is not a bad thing. It might feel like is a bit over the top sometimes for you, and I get that. But it's important that if you're a young guy listening to this, to remember that the most important thing that we can do is supporting each other and not encouraging the idea of going backwards. That's what he's doing, and you can be better than that. So I just wanted to make that point for any young guys that listen to this podcast. But also, going back to what you were saying, a couple of points, like, you were talking about how even as early as the 60s and 70s, people with disabilities were put in care homes and put away and told not to do it. But you've seen that as early as 2020 in this pandemic where we were all basically forgotten about.
Yeah.
And even still, like, people are going to hate this, right? But at the end of the day, for a lot of disabled people, COVID is still a very real thing that's happening right now.
Yes.
And we have been overlooked in every single part of this. And there has been thousands upon thousands of disabled people that have died that didn't have to die because the Tories and society have promoted this idea of just take care of yourself, just take care of yourself. But Stephen, we're all trying to take care of ourselves and not thinking about supporting other people, supporting the people that have less than us. We're failing. We're failing as a society that has all this knowledge and is able to help each other, but we're choosing not to. You don't have to, you as an individual can empower yourself to know that helping each other is the best way of doing it. And I think that the pandemic showed a lot of people that maybe we really should value disabled people more, and we really should try and take care of each other more. And I think that's an important point to stress.
Definitely. I think my take on that is, I mean, I could go into politics all day, right? My take on it is to kind of simplify it and make it apolitical, right? Which is, during COVID, I mean, my brother had to go back in with my mum and dad, who are in their 70s. And, regardless of what your own views on COVID are, there's a lot of people out there going, don't care about it, it's nothing. That's cool. That's your view. You're entitled to it. I respect your right to choose. No problem, right? I think what people don't realise though is what life is like, caring for someone with complex needs or special needs or someone who's disabled themselves, and think, well, I'm not going to take the chance, whether it's 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000. I'm not going to take the chance, right? Because what you're saying is, I might die. That's like going and playing with the buses. Okay, one might hit me. Do you know what I mean? So who's going to do that? People didn't realise, or people don't realise unless they have first-hand experience of it. And the only way I would try and sort of assimilate this is what people now on social media, when their granny dies, or their dog, or their great uncle, or their papa, and they feel that loss. And you see them on Facebook, 5 years, lost my best pal, my nan, R.I.P. nan, you're up in the sky. That's heartbreaking. That's someone that they love. Who is to judge and say, but she was 95, mate. She had a good life. Nobody's saying, that's not cool. That's someone loved that. I only think about my brother. I don't love him any less. I don't love him 75%. Well, he's 40% capable, 20% capable of an able-bodied person. So I kind of, I don't love him that much, or expected to live X amount of years. So, right? I love my brother more than anyone else, almost, in this the same way that someone can say that about their nan, their papa, their dad, their mum, their dog, anything. That's so, whoever is disabled is loved as much as anyone, and the loss will be felt as keenly as anyone. So I think all you're looking for is a wee bit of awareness to go, yeah, that's cool, right? And if you don't believe in it, cool. But what if your mum and dad's in the supermarket and they've got the mask on and somebody else is no bothering their hole doing it? You think, yeah, but I don't want to go home and pass that on to my son who's extremely vulnerable. I don't need you to tell me how vulnerable my son is because I know. I think that's the thing. I just think that, as you say, there's a tendency in some areas we're becoming more selfish as a society, and we're starting to reframe things in a way that justifies our own behaviour to go, well, I'm just going to do it anyway. So I think you've got the culture war, which is the attack on, they're now calling woke nonsense. And yes, and this woke's not a bad term. Woke's actually just about becoming a better person. It's not, oh yes, this fucking woke nonsense. When people say that, they're angry. I've heard people, and you can see the anger in their eyes because they don't want to look inwards and go, I actually, you know what? It's not my fault. It's the society that I was born into and, shaped by. But actually, yeah, you're probably right. We probably have been, there's an inherent misogyny in society where, we sexualise women, we create them, turn them into objects. Like I know people, friends who get really annoyed when, they give it men teach your sons better. What about the women? They should be teaching them better. Not all men. Well, it is all men because, a woman don't walk down a dark alley and go, could be a good guy that's down at the bottom of there, so it'll be all right. They've got to just go, fuck, no, I'm not walking down there. It's, it's a dark alley. And you know what I mean? So it is all men, and if you're a good guy, then you don't need to worry about it. But yeah. I think that's the bit is actually just recognising, well, yeah, it is us. And yeah, but we're not great at this. We're not great at race relations. We probably are, disabled, as it were, and we need to make more of an effort. I think that's it. Like I've got a real fear. My brother, I think they're going tonight. So him and his girlfriend and a few of their friends, they're all wheelchair users with varying degrees of ability, and they're all going to that. Is it the Vega, the hotel, the bowling? I think so. They're all going up there. Mum's like, mate, you can go along tonight. And I'm thinking I will. And then part of me is just anxiety ridden and dread ridden because I just think, hope nobody's fucking rude to them.
Mm-hmm.
Hope they're not palmed off. And that's a terrible thing to think because that's me making a judgment on folk. And from what I'm aware of so far, they've been really helpful and they've like, yeah, look, come up, we'll do something for you and you can hire it out. And I just get a feeling I pit my stomach. I think, I hope, you know what I mean? Because that fears, it's not unfounded. It's not based on nothing. It's based on experience of.
Exactly.
So, but again, it's just having people having that, if they had that awareness, just to, and that confidence of speaking to people whom aren't necessarily conventionally able to communicate or able to communicate in a conventional way, because the sort of convenient image in my mind of a disabled person is either someone with Down syndrome or someone who's a wheelchair user but who can communicate freely and think, oh, that's quite good, we can work with that, we can stick the camera on there and we'll go. And I think that's where you have that angst where it feels like you're fighting against one another, and actually it's not about fighting against anyone else at all. So it's like brilliant, we should have more people with Down syndrome represented there, but we need to have more people with cerebral palsy and non-verbal cerebral palsy. Again, I keep saying cerebral palsy. I know there are 100 different types of disability and conditions. I just don't know. I don't know the names. I don't know the conditions. So like I say, I am hugely ignorant as well, and it's about being aware of the fact that I might know a little bit about Alexander or a lot about Alexander. I know nothing about anyone else. So it's just that kind of awareness.
100%, mate. It's definitely about the awareness. But there was a point you made there that really connected with me about when you were talking about the love for somebody, and when you're talking about the pandemic and all these things, and that feeling you have about not wanting anyone to be rude to them or something. If there's one thing that everyone in the world can connect with as a human being, it's the feeling of having that love for somebody. And when you say it like what you just said there, I think what it makes clear to people is that we are just as human as everyone else. And what you're asking for is to show that compassion that you would show somebody that you love for somebody that I love. When you go out there and you decide maybe during the pandemic not to wear a mask, or you decide that when you see a group of people with disabilities at a nightclub, it's about making a joke or being rude to them in some way, and how that can affect somebody that you love, and there's no, at the end of the day, everyone is one slip away in the shower for being just as disabled as the next person.
Well, I think that's the thing, is that you don't want it to get to that stage. You don't want somebody to experience that until they go, oh, right, actually, fucking hell, I get what you're saying now. And it's just about a bit more compassion and taking the time to maybe stop to people and talk to them. That's, I do it all the time, but only because I know what a big difference that makes to my brother, and has done. So I saw a young man at the train station soon in Edinburgh for the Fringe there, which we can talk about, and I'm up talking to him, and again I made that class mistake this year, because she was kind of talking to half like, I mean, listen, you want me to stand with your boy? And she went, no, you're all right. And I was chatting to him, I think he was his name Aiden, and he was 19, he was going to meet his girlfriend, and he was same as Alexander, cerebral palsy, non-verbal. She knew the carer, she worked with him since he was a child, she kind of knew what he was saying, and I'm having a crack with him like, you're going to get a bevy and all that. I'm telling him about my brother, and usual showing him the TikToks that I do with Alex. She went, I think I know your brother. She said, oh, I've seen your TikToks before, and chatting away, and she's, thanks for taking the time. I've really enjoyed it. But I always make that effort, or try to, because I know what that means to Alexander. And it's just having that confidence and awareness to go up and say, excuse me, is this your, I use PA, use carer, sorry, how you doing? I'm having a bit of chit chat, Listen, it's not for everybody, because also people don't want to talk to anyone in the street anyway, so I get it. It's like talking to a stranger, but it's that thing. It's making the effort. And I also met up with someone at the Fringe. I noticed on one of the Fringe performers forums, he said, "Is anyone planning on meeting up?" This guy called Josh Heppel, really really impressive guy. I think he's doing his PhD in the social model of disability. Should get him. I'll give you details, right? And I met up with him, and what was really interesting is, again, I had to really work hard, because the way Alexander communicates, Alexander looks up for yes, down for no. So you need to do all the talking for Al whilst you're figuring out, right, Al, is it past, is it present, okay, right, is it something happened 20 years ago, right, okay, is it to do with music, right, and you're working through it, trying to figure it out. But this guy, Josh, articulates brilliantly on obviously Messenger, but when I met him, he's really taken his time to speak because of his cerebral palsy, and he's really, as he said, his movements are quite severe. So I'm finding it really hard to not talk, because I'm such a talker with Alexander. So it's totally alien to me. I'm like, oh, fuck. And even I find it difficult, because I was like, a couple of times I found myself just going, and actually I went, sorry Josh, I didn't quite get that, because he's, struggling to get the words out. They're almost, it's at times incoherent to me when I was getting into the rhythm of it. But as someone with a disabled brother, I find it uncomfortable, and you have to internally regulate yourself and go, if you don't understand it, you're going to need to tell him you don't understand it, and just say, I'm sorry Josh, I didn't quite get that. Can you repeat it? Because you're not wanting to be rude, and then you could end up just going, nodding dodge, like, oh yeah, nah, good. Just like an English person listening to a Scottish person, just going, yeah, all right, yeah. I don't know what the fuck he's saying. So yeah, it's difficult, and again, he pulled me up actually. He said, so where are you? And he's been a Fringe review, and he said, where are you performing? I said, I'm in Bateco, which is get venue in Edinburgh. He went, is it wheelchair accessible? And I went, no. And he went, you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but you should only be performing in wheelchair accessible venues. And I was like, all right, see your point, but I'm not disabled, right? And also, so how many opportunities should I miss then, right? Which is, again, it's not the picture perfect answer.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, well, I've experienced a lot of it, my brother, so more than anyone. But what about me? Like, and it's a great point. And he said, yeah, but if everyone has that attitude, we'll not get anywhere.
Yeah.
So he's right, but equally, right? He is right, but I won't get to play a lot of the wheelchair accessible venues because the wheelchair accessible venues are the big venues.
Yeah.
Right? So as a comedian starting out, you know, the Gilded Balloon aren't going to go like that to me. All right, sure, we'll give you a spot, big fella, because you like to do a bit of stuff about disability and your brother. So how, you know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So do I need to wait before I'm big time?
Well,
If I'm big time, if I'm famous, right? I mean, I hope I am. But so how do you do that? Do you make life more difficult for yourself? So being principled comes at a cost as well. And that's a really, I mean, that's a conversation that needs to be had. And again, like, there's a drive for inclusion and diversity, but I think I'm being missed out there, particularly in comedy, because I'm choking to say, fucking me, because I'm wanting to talk about these experiences with my brother, and I've got material, and even just I've come from that household, so actually I'm one step closer to that diversity tick, because I can at least give you that experience. But I don't know, maybe that's not, maybe that's just a straight white male wanting to skip the queue and use his his blue badge. You know, so that's the other thing. I'm also conscious, you know, somebody could just be like, mate, I don't think so.
First of all, I want to reassure you that is definitely not the case. But the argument I'd make to the point your man's making there is that you performing at these arenas and being at the Fringe and things like that, you are allowing yourself to have a bigger platform to share this story.
Yeah.
Which is the way that you need to look at it. Like, yeah, not every place is going to have wheelchair access, particularly in comedy. But I think that by you using those avenues and becoming a bigger personality and having a bigger following, you then can spread this message wider. So there's positives to it. That is the way you should look at it, mate, because your message doesn't need to be heard, and it's completely, I want you to know, it's completely valid. But I do want to talk about the Fringe, right, and go into your TikTok a little bit. But the Fringe, what was it like being back performing at the Fringe after this?
So it's been brilliant. So the Fringe runs, I think, until the 27th or 28th of August. I didn't think I was going to get to perform this year because of the job that I was doing, and also my girlfriend and I were going away next week. We've got a wedding to go to, like, in France. Makes us sound very jet setting and transatlantic, right? Well, not transatlantic because it's in Europe. That's a really stupid thing to say. Transcontinental. So initially I thought there's no way I'm going to get to do this Fringe, and then as it crept up, I thought I'll at least try and get through and do a week. And so I did a week's worth of gigs. So I did like 14 gigs in the space of 7 days, whereas it might take me 2 months to do 14 gigs otherwise. So it was brilliant. It was really, really good. And this was the first sort of full Fringe experience since COVID. So I was originally booked to do a show at the Fringe just before that, the first sort of COVID year, the very first main one, fucking lockdown one, L1, right? LD1. So it never happened. So I got to do a few shows. It was brilliant. But being a Glaswegian, I have been totally ignorant to the Fringe, because obviously Glaswegians do not like to travel into Edinburgh. They don't like to admit that Edinburgh's good. And we're like, at the Fringe, pure arts and all that, man. I don't think so, man. Right? So totally. I mean, and then the only times I've been through the Fringe, I'm like, we'll go through the Fringe for a baby, soak up the atmosphere and all that. If I see a show, I'm like, no, I'm not going to see a show, man. So the first year I've gone through sort of as a comedian, and I was like, wow, this is just, imagine ignoring this. You know, it's like being into WWE and not going to WrestleMania, you know, when it's on your doorstep every year. You know, it was brilliant. Really, really good fun.
No, I'm glad to hear that. I think you definitely deserve these opportunities. And when, you know, last time you were here, like you'd mentioned before, you didn't even have a TikTok account.
No.
But I think it's fair to say that you've kind of blown off a bit on that, mate.
It's been great. What's really funny is probably coming back to the more central theme of the podcast, and it's funny because I'm almost wanting to apologise for talking about all these things because I'm always worried about people. Listen, we'll talk about something happy now because I don't want people to think, oh right, bleeding hearts going on about disability again. The TikTok thing. So we're all held back by fear, and I'm outwardly very confident, right? But of course, nobody's born confident. Right, confidence is something that you develop, and confidence is just an act. At the end of the day, it's an act, and you just do it that often that you kind of believe in yourself. You're confident. But I'm as insecure as anyone. So probably when I was here last, and I was putting up wee clips on my Instagram, I was probably holding myself back because I'm so concerned about what my mates are going to think. Because your fear is, this Gardner doing all the mad clip. Have you seen him doing fucking sketches and all that like that? I'm not saying anyone was thinking that, but that's what I'm thinking that they're thinking, so you're ruled by fear like anyone else. You're worried about what everyone else says. So TikTok, I wish I joined TikTok in lockdown 1 when everybody else, I'd have 1 million followers on it by now, right? That was a classic, TikTok, listen, I'm not a nonce, mate. You know what I mean? Like that was the patter that people were hitting it with, and it was somebody else, a guy called Mikey Motion, really interesting, funny guy, right? Comedian, he's a bit off his head. He's a really good guy. He puts up all these daft clips on Facebook and all that. And I thought, I need to do more of that, sketches. And it was my friend as well, a guy called Jim Daly, and he gave a wee shout out to, really lovely guy. He's got a 4-star reviewed show. It's on at the Fringe. It's called Football and Fatherhood, right? He talks about Tony Cascarino and his journey as a father and what names mean to him and why he named his kid. And he said to me, I did comedy with him in London 10 years ago, and I never followed it through as a course. And I never followed it through, and he did, and he's a full-time comedian, he's an author, he's a podcaster, and he said to me, your wee video, he said, that's the type of thing you should put on TikTok. And I think I put something on TikTok and it never happened or what. Anytime you upload anything, you're like, why does that not get 5 million views? Right, forget it, doesn't work. So I put something up and I just ignored it, didn't really know how it worked. And I went back to it, and it's funny, my name on TikTok is James Cotter, right, which is a character in Rab C. Nisbet. Now, I never watched Rab C. Nisbet. Just when I was growing up in Summerston, my older cousin Shug and my pals, they used to call me James Cotter. Just rotten patter for Wayne's, James Cotter. And they'd still to this day, they call me Cotter. So when I'm 39, right, for any of the kids listening or watching, right, before social media, you had websites, right? And how you made pals in real life, but also going back to 2000, if you remember any of this, Paul, you used to have websites, and we done a website called the Night Before website, nightbefore.com, and it was all about nights out in Glasgow. So people that log in and the great night at the garage last night, the great night in the shack, and it was a general forum where people would, my boyfriend's dumped me again, and people would be talking about it, and has anybody seen the new Sopranos episode? So it was just, and you used to have usernames. You have to have a username and a wee it's called an avatar, a wee picture, right? And they'd put up pictures of themselves. It was just all like, I don't know, somebody had a picture of Polly Walnuts, you know what I mean? And his username was called The Sopranos. And I was James Cotter. And when I had a Bebo, my name was James, because obviously all these other names were taken up. So I just put my name as James Cotter on TikTok. And it sounds, I still have my own picture, but it sounds daft. It just gave me that little bit more confidence to express myself, because I thought, none of my pals are on TikTok. Nobody will see what I'm up to, and I can kind of just get on with it, right? And that's, when I'm saying it out loud, I'm realising how absurd it is, but that's a fear, you can be held back from doing things that you want to do by yourself. You can be a mental prisoner at your own, hostage, as it were, and you think, I don't want to do, I'm worried what people are saying. And I just started doing the TikTok clips, and it's been brilliant, man. I think I've got over 6 million views. I've been in a few newspapers. I've been in Glasgow Live about 5 times, right? So I think Mark Reynolds, the footballer that used to play for United and Aberdeen, Zip Alliers, right? Name drop him. But I think Reynolds replied, "How long has your dad been working at Glasgow Live for?" So it's been great. It's been really, really good. And then really kindly, my friend Laura Boyd, I don't know if you know Laura.
I've heard that name
She's
before.
the reporter on STV. She presents the What's On in Scotland show at 7:30 or 7 o'clock. I've known Laura since I was 18. I used to DJ in the shack. She used to come, and she worked at Scottish Television when I was at Satanta. So she's a dear friend of mine, has been for a long time. She's got a column in the Sunday Mail magazine. She's like, oh, you get a mention in my column and something. Oh, great. I thought it was going to be like it's a big column. And it's about, the TikTok clips and all these sorts of things. So it's been brilliant, because I think we did a show on Sunday there, and I think 12 people from TikTok came to see that show. Now, some people might think, all right, fucking 12 people, but if you're doing shows at the Fringe, and you're getting 20 people, 25 people in your room, it's a good room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're Susie McCabe or Kevin Bridges or something like that, okay, you can expect to sell out, hundreds and thousands. But, people came from TikTok. What brings you here? And all that, TikTok. And that kind of blows me away that people have bothered to get on the train from Glasgow to come through Edinburgh. Because, like I say, I'm from Glasgow. I would not go through Edinburgh, lightly. You know what I mean? Because that class, Edinburgh shite, even though it's an amazing city. And people came, it was, again, I did a gig at the Rotunda on Saturday night. Somebody's messaging me on Instagram, oh, we saw you on TikTok. Brilliant. So it's been really, really good fun doing it. I've enjoyed it, and that's me, TikTok Daphne.
It's amazing, because I think it's, you've done a brilliant job in raising awareness, but also just what it should show you is letting yourself be your natural self and showing your personality for what it is connects with people, and you're a really funny guy, and the way that you've been able to let loose on TikTok has really came through and connected with folks. So you deserve all the credit in the world, and I think that as it goes on, you're just going to sell one more tickets, mate.
I think so. I think that's going back to the theme of the podcast, isn't it? All about ability. I believe everyone's got ability. You just need to tune into what their ability is. And like you say, for me, I'm 39. You think, I'm only just really starting to become comfortable being myself. You know what I mean? And that's ongoing, because you'll always go through peaks and troughs of hating yourself, self-loathing, self-doubt. Then you'll go through the highs of, I've cracked it and all that, and then no. So no, it has. It's been brilliant, even just to help develop your voice. And again, it's a different thing. So like the stand-up comedy is a separate discipline. It's a different craft. I want to keep sort of doing that and be able to perform there. But because again, there's a wee bit of angst, in sort of certain circles within the comedy world, where comedians will be like annoyed. And I'm talking about top class club comedians will be getting annoyed at TikTokers that have got 100,000 followers, guys that are reviewing tins of beans or doing rotten dances or whatever. 100,000 followers on TikTok, monetize that, this top class, working club comedians get 200. That's life, innit? It's just you've got to tune into that. But I'll tell you, I thought it was quite funny, but I noticed at the Fringe, TikTok had a huge presence at the Fringe, huge. They sponsored a few things. They've got a big TikTok kiosk you get into Edinburgh. It's near the National Gallery, and you can get free coffee, and they're giving it goodies and all that. And I'm seeing a boy, and he's got the same number of followers as me, and he's been put up in a hotel, and they're doing a treasure hunt for this comedy gig that's going on, this TikTok secret comedy gig. And I'm like, why am I not involved, right? And I marched up to this TikTok kiosk like an angry parent whose son had not been invited to the party. And I was like, so how did I get into this? And they were just like, mate, we're giving out t-shirts here. And I was like, yes, I know, but I've seen what's going on here, and I've got the same number of followers as this guy. And listen, I should be invited to this. And they're like, well, well, maybe, maybe get you a ticket. I'm like, I don't want a ticket. I want to be on it, right? And then I saw yesterday the person that they had doing the secret comedy gig was Alan Carr. Big man, you could have made the tea for the guy that was helping out Alan Carr, but it just, it just, so I was like, all right, okay, maybe I shouldn't be involved in that one then. Thanks very much. But
no, that's funny, mate. We all have a tendency to get wrapped up in our own insecurities, and I have been the king of that for the past couple of years. But what's interesting is that the more you kind of develop an ability to self-reflect, I'm kind of in a weird sort of process just now of finally sort of accepting the fact that I don't need to carry this stuff. And your brain sort of automatically goes back to, well, I need to be dependent on this person or dependent on that person, or why are they not replying to me, why is this happening like this, or whatever the case. And your brain, I think, fundamentally wants to go back to what you're used to, and feeling those insecurities and feeling a certain way about yourself. But the more that you train, it's like a process of every day training yourself, working hard to acknowledge the fact that, hey, I have got a lot of positives. There's a lot upside to me, and someday in my life that I might lose gets as much out of having me in my life as I do having them in my life. So it's acknowledging the fact that you are valuable. You are, somebody that's bringing people a lot of laughter. And you mentioned a few times in this, like, I don't want to be like harping on about disability or give people the wrong idea or whatever. But nothing about this is sad. It's all actually very much an important conversation, and I want you to know that like every person with a disability appreciates that, and you should be proud of what you're doing, mate. Because I certainly am.
Well, I think thanks very much. I think it's something that I want to do more of. I think I spoke to you about it before, and again, it's funny because, like you say, you just got to not slip into what you say is the muscle memory, and the muscle memory can be so many different things. It's like I've got a tendency to act up in front of people. When you're around comedians, you're like, I'm just fucking desperate for them to like me, and you almost want to go tell them all the things that you've done, and then you go away going, oh, what a dick you made of yourself there, And I actually just trying to just kind of be a bit more chill and just sitting down and going, you don't need to try and make everyone like you, and also everyone doesn't need to like you either. Like, and what I mean by that is, it'd be nice if they did. I mean, I would like everyone to like me, but equally, you might not be somebody's cup of tea, and that's all right. That's not because they're a bad person. Like, sometimes there's a tendency to frame it that way. You're like, he's a dick, I don't like him. He just might be too noisy for him. That might be too loud and outgoing. Just leave him alone. And it's trying to not to fall into the muscle memory of acting up like that, and in those situations. And then, like you say, with the talking about disability thing, I think you're right. Like, for example, Alexander, my brother, is as happy a person as you will meet. Alexander, in a lot of ways, some people think, oh, he's got it really hard. He absolutely has. But he doesn't know that he's got it hard as well. In a lot of ways, he's happy. He wakes up every morning, he's kind of pretty happy every day. He's got all the people he needs to have around him. He's got the things that make him happy. So like you say, we laugh. He brings us laughter and joy every day. Just talking about how he communicates. And I'm saying, fucking hell, Dad, I was in there, and he went, oh, I know, and then he'll start. We're talking about something, and in fact, my girlfriend and I popped up to see him, and two of his sort of carers were there, and we're talking. And my brother doesn't like dogs, right? Because I think his fear is they jump up on the wheelchair, and he can't tell the dog get off, get down, right? So, he's never liked any of the dogs that we've had in the house, and my girlfriend and I, we've got a wee dog, and I always joke. So I bring Toby up, Alexander, and he just goes like that. Nah. And I'm like, what do you think about dogs, Al? And he looks at his hand. Say fuck off. Do you hate dogs? Aye, right. And we started talking, and I'm putting on voices, mimicking. So what I do is I put on voices to speak for Al. I'm like, James, I fucking hate every dogs on the telly, shite. Lassie, shite, boring, right? And he's putting his eyes up going like that. I mean, that is the worst programme ever. Lassie, a programme about a dog, forget it. And then I was going, the only dog I like, James, right? The only one dog is Scooby-Doo. My brother's going like that, eyes up, yes. And then my brother, right, just looks at you, he's trying to tell you something, and you're going, what is it, Al? There's something else. What is it? There's another dog that you like, right? Is it a film? Right, I don't film, I'm going through all these things and all that. I'm like that. The Rescuers, the Borrowers. Is it a Disney movie? It's a Disney movie you like. The features is all dogs go to heaven? No. And that's the thing, it's needle in a haystack, because how do you get something out of what he's trying to tell you? Yeah. We're in his flat, and he's going like that, he's looking down, he's got decks for him because he loves music, and he's looking down at his flight case is full of records. He's looking down, I'm like, what is it? And there's a clue in there, right? Because also we become lazy because it's hard work figuring out what Alexander's trying to say. And then you need to get his book out, which has got loads of wee icons on it, and then you go row by row, line by line, is it that? And then you add on that clue to it. So sometimes you go, right, I'll figure it out later. So you do shush him. Yeah. That's not like fair, but it's also not unfair, because also, so that's the difference of complex needs, because like you say, particularly when you're his family and you're so tired by looking after him, living your own life, whereas the carers can give him more attention. So anyway, looking at this box. I'm like, let's lift up the box. And all he can see, because my brother can't move, is just the tops of all these vinyls stuck together, you know? So it's not like he can see the covers, he can see the tops of the LPs. That's how I used to play his music for him when I was 5 or 6 years old. And I would run my hand over the top of the box of record like that, and he would go, eyes up, and he'd know where the record was. So anyway, I'm like that, going up the vinyl, right to the front. He went, aye, front. So I start lifting up the record. One went, is that one? No. Is it that one? No. And I'm thinking, is there a soundtrack in here? Is there an easy out to this? Lifts it up. Billy Joel. He's like, aye. Fucking Billy Joel. Did he do the soundtrack for this film? No. Billy Joel. He's still looking at me. Is Billy Joel in it? Oh, aye, it is. You know what it turned out to? I had to Google it. He'd seen a film and it was that, it's like the Disney version of Oliver, and Billy Joel plays the character, which is a dog. He went, I quite likes that character. And you just think, the recall, how he's been able to think of that and tell you that from a canvas of nothing. That blows my mind. Do you know what I mean? And I'm going, where did you see it, Al? Was it recently? Because by the way, he's telling us, where's it from? It was from the 80s. All right, he was about 3 years out, so for 91, right? And he said it was the 80s. So when did you watch it? Was it here in your flat? No. Was it mum and dad's? Aye, mum and dad's. But was it on DVD? No. Was it on VHS? No. Was it on Netflix? And I'm going, Al, it can't be anything else, right? My brother, when he gets angry, look, cause he's, right, look at his fingers to tell you fuck off. It is something else. Disney Plus, he watched it on. Do you know what I mean? So like you're like stuff like that blows our minds, and he will tell you stuff like that all the time. Tell you somebody, you know, he one day told me about it was my brother-in-law's mum's birthday. Okay, I don't even, my brother-in-law's birthday is, never mind his mum. He told us the day, and so you never know what he's thinking, and how he's able to get it across is unbelievable. And yeah, right, it's, you know, there is a tendency to think and associate just sympathy and sorrow and despair, and all those things exist, but actually I would say the overwhelming majority of it is positive. And that's the thing people say, oh, and I tell them, people, I've got a brother who's disabled, to go, oh God bless him, must be so hard. And you're like, he's fucking happy though, you know. So that's the thing, people think it's a life less lived, but it's not less lived, you know. It is a life that is lived fully to the fullest and enjoyed to the fullest. But as you said, that social model of disability would suggest that, oh, he's only living a wee bit of his life, but it's not the case.
Mate, that's amazing. I think I would talk to you all day, but I think that's a brilliant point to probably wrap up on, because I'm very aware of the fact that we have a busy day in the green room today.
No problem.
I'm not entirely... How long are we waiting for? We're definitely touching cloth here.
That's fine. I'm happy with that. I could see you doing that. Don't worry. I was aware that was like a TV producer's instinct there, where you're just going, right, James, let's just wrap this up here.
No, listen, mate, I would talk to you all day. I think your story is amazing, and the point you finish on there, I think wraps up quite well in a bow, if you like. And
that's why I was doing it, because I knew it was the last point. That was the old TV presenter's charm coming out there.
It's honestly like, I'm going to remember this conversation for the rest of my days, honestly. Like, I think what you're doing is fantastic, and it's going to help people with disabilities all throughout the world. So keep going, keep pushing, and the TikTok and your platforms are going to keep growing, because you can tell that the main thing about you, mate, is you want to do good, you want to help other people, and I'm very grateful that you came on and shared your story today again.
Not at all. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to number 3 before Darren Connell. All right.